We're good? We're ready? Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Safari Pedal Show. I'm your host, Abby. If this is your first time here, welcome to the Safari Podcast Zoo YouTube Crazy Thing Wild bandwagon. It's great to have you. Today is the very exciting start of a new mini-series that I am doing in the show called Clienting 101.
Wow! Beautiful!
I will first start by saying that I have not yet had paid clients. I have so many questions as to how to operate business-wise when it comes to giving feedback and just handling the whole concept of clienting in general. So I thought it would be really fun and educational to dedicate a few episodes to chatting with some really awesome engineers and producers as to how they manage their whole world of clienting, their clienting journey, where they started, mistakes and lessons they've learned along the way, and tips they have for people like me that are just starting out. Which brings me to our amazing guest for today's episode, Jennifer Ortiz, who is an awesome engineer and also co-host of the True Peak Hour podcast. 10 out of 10 recommend. It's a great podcast. Is going to be on the show, and we're going to be diving into her Clienting 101 world. I can't wait to learn and hear more, and I feel like there's not much more I can add to this intro. Do I have anything else to say? No, I don't. So please give a very warm Safari welcome to Jennifer Ortiz.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Hey, welcome to the show. What's up?
You know what? I feel like once you say like, hey Safari, welcome everybody, welcome to the Safari show. You have ambience of like being in the wild, being like in the safari, and then start the show.
That's gonna be in this
I'm just
edit.
kidding.
That's gonna be in the edit.
Yeah, it's good.
I'll like animate like lions and llamas and birds and stuff.
Yeah, just like little emojis running by and stuff.
Like just the flamingo emoji, kind of like.
Exactly. There you go.
Listen, you get the vibe of the show. I'm pumped.
Yeah.
You guys, she knows things. But I'm super psyched to have you on. I really appreciate your time. Before we kick off into today's topic, let's first hear who you are, what you do, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. My name is Jennifer Ortiz. I am an audio engineer, mixing engineer, and I also work with Dolby Atmos. I have been working in the industry for about almost 9 years. I did go to school. I went to Cal State Dominguez Hills, got my bachelor's in audio engineering, took the whole college route, which was super fun for me. And then afterwards, I started working at a studio called Studio 770 here in California. And for 3 years, I kind of did my whole internship, assistant engineer, and then being on staff, learned a lot of like miking techniques. We worked with a lot of jazz and classical music, so I was surrounded by that for 3 solid years. Afterwards, I was like, okay, let me take it down to the freelance world. I really want to work with artists, in person, more closely, have a clientele. And I started working with different studios. I started being a freelance engineer, being on their call. Ever since, I've just been kind of hopping around studios, working with different artists, working with different producers. I've been working with Rock Nation. I've worked with Spotify Studios. I've worked with Def Jam. A couple of the artists I've worked with is K.A.A.N, Rhapsody, Noname. This is a whole lot. I feel like I've been everywhere, so it's hard to remember who I've actually worked with. I just feel like I've worked with a lot of labels who put me in with a lot of different artists. But it's been a whole ride for me.
That's so freaking cool. And I just want to say that I love Noname. That's epic.
Oh, she's freaking... Yeah, her last album was super dope. When I get the chance to work with a female rapper, I'm just so psyched because I'm just like, this is gonna be such a dope session, and just the tracking side of it is so easy for me. So I just get it literally into the vibe and kind of get out of the engineering mindset and more like, okay, I can get creative with her. I can put out ideas, and she was so open to like listen to my ideas. So it was such a really fun project to be part of.
It's amazing that you mentioned a client you worked with, because today we're talking all things clienting 101, guys. Right. So what was your first client experience like? And the second part of that question is, how long into your audio career did it take you to get like a real paid client, like a full gig?
So when I started doing freelance, I started working at a couple studios, and there was one studio that I was there for a couple months, and I was the only engineer there, and I would get their clients, and they would come in just to book the studio. Then the studio started closing down. So then I was like, okay, I started building my own studio at my home. Then I started realizing that those same clients that I used to get at that studio were following me on Instagram, and they started contacting me like, hey, are you still able to record? Do you have a studio? I would like to book studio time with you. That's when I noticed like, oh, okay, great. I'm kind of having like a small client following that wants to continue working with me, and that's when I realized, okay, this is nice. I think I can deal with this, and I started having them come over, having a couple hours, and over the time span, I feel like that's how I ended up building a clientele, is either through Instagram or word of mouth.
Oh, sick. How long, like, from when you started in audio to that point was that?
I think 6 months into my freelance journey, I felt that people actually started knowing me based on my work, based on my name, and wanting to book only with me. It might have been like almost 3 to 4 years into being a recording engineer.
Wow. So like how was that for you? Like that's like a hot minute.
It is. I felt like the first 3 years was me trying to understand how the music industry works, how you deal with clients, and how you invoice them, or how you organize schedule sessions, and just find a way where you, as a freelancer, you have to kind of take care of all of this on your own. When you used to work for a studio, when I used to work for a studio, it was more like taken care of, and you were able to just kind of come in whenever they asked you to come in. So I think having a hold and understanding of that, it did take a while, but it put me to a place where I could do it on my own.
Do you have any kind of stories from the beginning of your clienting journey that you learned a lesson or something that you'd kind of want to pass on and call attention to?
I feel like every client I have is different. I learned a few different things to like keep in mind. I think the most part was just being direct with the client and be like, this is my rate, and I need to know, when is this project due? When do you need it done by? So I can have an estimation of like, okay, how much am I going to charge you? How much time is going to be put into this? I think at first I was just kind of starting out. So a lot of these clients were like, well, I only have this much. Can you complete this mix in 48 hours with this budget? And I felt that at that point, I was like overworking myself for so little. So over time, I kind of realized, okay, every client's different, and I have to balance the length of the work that they're giving me based on like the rate I'm supplying them with.
I don't know if I should call it like a boundary, but I guess kind of like that directness. Did that take you like a while to come confidently to people and be like, this is what I charge? Like, this is kind of
Yeah, I think it took me a while. I'm always the person who likes to please people and likes to work with everybody, and I rarely turn work down because I always love being busy. So sometimes the budget wasn't so big, but I really wanted to work with this artist. So I would take any budget at that point, any rate. And there was other times where I was just like, I have nothing going on. So I'm just like, okay, I'll just do it for that much, But the older I got and like the more responsibilities I have, I noticed that okay, I have to be firm. And I feel like I've worked enough and have experience enough in this industry that I'm able to set a firm rate and not feel like I'm sabotaging myself based on like just turning work away based on the rate not being enough, the budget not being big enough for what I work with. And I feel like I did have some clients kind of like turn away and be like, well, this is too much. I can't afford this. And even then, there was times where I would give them another option, like, okay, well, since you can't do this rate or this budget, this is what I can do for you. It was more of a thing where I'm like able to negotiate and still feel like I'm not losing or overworking myself. There's still that balance where I'm still charging based on my experience, but I'm also able to negotiate with you if you still want to work with me and I want to work with you.
Oh, I hear. So it really kind of is like dependent on the personality and things of that nature.
Yes, especially if I know the artist is like going to put the project out, is very serious about it, probably has a whole roadmap, that has a release plan, and I know we're kind of in the same headspace where like we're gonna get this done, you know. So I'm just like, okay, I'm willing to work with you. Let's negotiate a rate.
Do you find that like artists kind of respond well when you come more confident and like this is my rate, but we can like negotiate? Are people usually flexible, you found?
I find that a lot of the artists that are willing to negotiate with my rate are based on like they know that the work I do is very organized. So they're kind of seeking that organization. So throughout the whole process, it's easy for them to understand like, okay, now we're in the mixing process, or we're in the recording process. Now we're in the mixing process, and this is how much time it takes. They find an understanding of like the mixing process and why it can take a certain time frame to complete, but knowing that everything's going to be organized throughout the whole entire process.
Kind of on what you just said, it just kind of clicked in me in my head. Like I haven't yet had paid clients. I'm like completely starting out, and so it really clicked with me like not what can they give me, but like what am I bringing to the table that's worth paying for. So like what you said, like your level of organization. So I kind of just thought to myself, okay, what skills do I need to develop that can like give me that space to be like, let's negotiate, or like this is my price.
Right. No, I've had a couple clients where they come in with the work and it's like very unorganized. I work off of Pro Tools mainly. Some of the clients I work with work on Logic or Ableton, so I know they might not know how to like stem things out. They might not have the correct version saved. They might have like one verse saved on one file and then the second verse saved on another file. So dealing with those type of clients, when I introduce like how organized I could be, they're just like, oh, you're so organized. I want to continue working with you. And now I see why I'm paying this much, or you're worth this much. So they're more willing to work with me in the future as well.
I'm taking notes for myself on that one. Like that's super valuable, but sometimes I think like that's something that can go like unappreciated maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not all artists or producers are engineers, and it's okay, but you kind of do need that organization to showcase other people like, hey, I know what I'm doing and you can trust me with your project.
I also wanted to ask you, kind of on the theme of like things that artists value and that clients value, do you kind of have a list in your head of like some do's and don'ts that you would say to people venturing into the clienting world?
If you're coming up as an engineer or as a producer and you really want to work with somebody, I want to say this is a do. Just because I feel like it's gotten my career pretty far. Just build a relationship with the artist or the client, whatever tier they're in. Treat them as like your 100% client, and make sure you build a relationship with them so you can grow with them. And I think that that's gotten me pretty far with a lot of like the artists I work with, for a lot of the clients I work with.
Would you say that like that there's a certain point that it's too early to negotiate? Like, do you think that people starting out should maybe start for free?
I did this a couple months ago, and I still do it every now and then. If there's an artist who I know might not have the budget to work with me, but I really want to work with them, and then they're kind of in the same mindset of like, I want to put music out, I want to work with a good engineer or with a good producer, I always lay out like a 3 to 6 month plan, which I call an artist development plan, where we both get in the studio for either 3 months. Usually it's 3 months, because I want to see how they work. I want to see how consistent they are. I want to see what their goods and bads are in the studio, such as like recording techniques, how fast they write, how much they want to come in, or how much they get done within a couple hours. So I'll do like a 3 month program. We'll meet once a week for 4 hours. And our goal is to complete 2 songs within 1 month. So we'll go through the recording stage, we'll go through the mixing stage, and then the mastering stage. And I'll end up giving them the master, and they'll, whatever way they want, they'll release the song basically in 3 months if we do 2 songs per month. That's around 6 songs. That's basically almost an EP they can put out if they decided like put it out as a project. But it's more like I'm able to continue working with a developing artist, and they're able to like sit with me and understand like, oh, this is how a studio works, this is how studio etiquette is, this is how consistent we need to be nowadays releasing music, this is how it feels. So it's a learning process for them and me, and I know that eventually we both get something out of it based on like seeing the music come out. I just feel like that's a good way to like give back to the music industry and like balance out like it being work and then it being like, this is music, let's put something out and have fun.
That's really great. I feel very inspired, I will say. And so maybe I'll edit in some like really inspiring music, like some harps or something. Ooh. When you say that. Like
yeah,
some,
the
like,
more you know.
Yeah. Like some like, you know, like the Cinderella birds type, or is it Snow White with all the animals?
The little blue ones, I know what you mean.
Yeah. I have to get those in the edit for sure. So to kind of like wrap up the whole topic of clienting and all things in general, like you dropped so many like good pieces of advice and points. Is there anything you kind of want to say to the world to kind of tie it all up with a bow? Get
more Safari plugins. That's what I'm gonna say. Tap in. They're so cheap and so affordable and so fun to use. I have the whole bundle, and like just going through each plugin, I'm just like, oh man, I can't get enough. I need more pedals. Like, I know you guys are launching one every like other month, or I don't know, but I'm just like, I need more. I'm addicted to them at this point.
Guys, this is like totally not an ad, but if you want your own everything bundle, you can go check out the Safari Pedals website. You heard it here first. Do you have a favorite Safari plugin? I feel like I need to ask that question.
Yes, the Ladybug. The Reverb Ladybug, it's so cool. I mean, I think all the plugins are dope. I love to like when I'm mixing and I get a little bored, I'm just like, I can't get creative. And the artist is asking like, oh, well, can you get a little cool with this vocal? And I'm just like, I'd like to just plug one of the Safari pedals in and just kind of see what it does. And it's funny because sometimes the artist is like, oh, what did you do there? That sounds cool. And I'm just like, really? I just literally plugged this in. Like, and they're just like, no, leave it like that. And I'm just like, okay, great. You know, but one of my, there's two, the Ladybug, and then the other one's called Foxy.
Oh yeah. The Fox
It's a delay plugin. Oh my God. That one's just, I love going through the presets and seeing what it does. Recently, I've been having a lot of K-pop songwriting sessions, and like a lot of K-pop, their vocals are very processed in certain parts, just so the song can like sound different throughout the whole thing. But I've been using that one, and it's just so cool. I love how it like works on vocals, and how it can sound, make it sound different. I don't know, it's just so crazy for me. I love it.
It does a thing. The Fox Echo Chorus does a thing.
Yeah, you should get it. It's so dope that you can just purchase it and then call it your own. You know what I mean? Like no subscription or anything. You just be like, this is mine
forever.
Forever. Yeah.
Forever. Yeah. The subscription, I don't know. I don't know many things because I'm just starting out, but one thing I do know is that I am not going to fall into the subscription trap.
I just did my taxes, dude, and my business taxes, and I'm looking at all the subscriptions because I plug those in there. I'm like, okay, I do Google storage 1 terabyte. Then you got like, you got Spotify, and then all your little subscriptions add up. And I'm like, bro, there is no way I'm spending this much a year on just subscriptions. It's kind of insane.
Another piece of advice, less subscriptions, and then you won't have to charge your clients as much money, and they'll just love you more. Also, if you're not an asshole.
Yes. Of course.
It's all part of the plan. Guys, I'm going to link all of Jenny's links and stuff in the description so you know where to find her. So if you need stuff mixed and organized, I think she's the gal for the job.
Or spatial audio. Spatial audio has been my jam right now. And I have a couple records I can showcase. So if you want to get into if you never heard any spatial audio music and you have Apple Music or Tidal, I literally have on my website, I have a whole playlist you can just click on and be like, this is all her mixes, and kind of judge them and DM me about them.
Yeah, guys, listen. The DMs are open, so that will also be linked. That will be linked in the description below. And thank you so much, guys. So round of applause, safari round of applause. Woo! You know, with the birds flying. Here's a bird, and here's a bird, kind of twinkling around. Hell yeah!